Okay, so Air Canada is once again cutting flights to the United States because the demand is just not there. And it might not seem like it right now because the World Cup is on, but flight data doesn't lie. And for decades, Canadians made the easy trek south. I mean, to go to Florida, Las Vegas, and Disneyland, it was easy for us. And to be honest, it was almost automatic. I mean, anytime I would have a vacation or it would be like a long weekend, my friends and I would go to Las Vegas or California. But Air Canada is telling us something with these flight cuts. It's that there's not enough people to fill up the seats for these US destinations. Now, I know there's been reports for the past 2 months that travel to the United States has increased a little bit. And to be frank, June's probably going to be higher as well, just because of the World Cup. But what happens when the party's over and everyone goes home and the World Cup is done? Well, the biggest indicator to me is flight details. And it's kind of funny with some of the reports I'm seeing. They're basically saying that Canadians are caving and they're coming back and the boycott's over. Well, nothing has fundamentally changed and things, in my opinion, have just gotten worse. And Air Canada and WestJet are starting to plan for the fall and winter season. So if they're canceling flights then, that to me is a good indicator of what we should expect. And I want to get started with a report from CTV first.
Canada is once again scaling back flights to the United States as jet fuel costs soar and as there is lower demand for trips south of the border. The airline is halting or delaying 8 routes starting in the fall. 3 routes from Toronto and Montreal to the Midwest will be canceled for the second winter in a row. In addition, 3 seasonal routes to Florida from Ottawa, Montreal, and Quebec City will start in December instead of October. Meantime, 2 previously suspended routes from Montreal and Toronto to New York won't be coming back this winter.
Now, they're only showing details from Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and Quebec City. But I'm sure other cities like Halifax, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Calgary, Edmonton, and my hometown, Vancouver, you can be sure that Air Canada are reviewing those ones as well. But let's take a look at these 3 right now. 3 routes from Toronto and Montreal to cities in the Midwest cancel. I remember back, I think it was April or even maybe earlier than that, March. A lot of our Canadian airlines were suspending routes, and they were going to review it again to see if they would start up again in the fall. Well, I guess we hit that time where the airlines need to make a decision. But the next one is actually the biggest red flag for me, or should I say red card. I found this image online and I just thought it was pretty funny. Orange Whoopee Cushion has to resort to cheating and he still can't win. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go off a little off topic right now and I'm going to show a funny video that I found. It's Belgium's football team trolling the Orange Whoopee Cushion doing his dance. Now, I can't play the audio because they're playing YMCA and I'll get a copyright strike. But just picture them dancing to YMCA. But I think this is freaking hilarious. Because, you know what? Cheaters never win. So well played by the Belgium football team. Alright, let's get back into it. Sorry, I just really wanted to show this to everyone. But going back to the second point. 3 seasonal routes from Ottawa, Montreal, and Quebec City to Florida will start in December instead of October. Now, this one's significant to me. Why? Well, who used to go to Florida a lot, starting in October? Well, it's the snowbirds. And the fact that they're pushing it back to December from October tells me that the flights that were supposed to be scheduled in October are nowhere near full. And if you ask me, they're pushing it back to December. So even December is not going to be safe. And the last one, 2 previously suspended routes from Montreal and Toronto to New York will not return. And that right there is a huge statement. It's not just pending, it's not TBA, they will not return. So when I hear all the noise about the boycott's over and the Canadians are caving and stats are going up, I ignore that noise and actually look at what matters, which is this, right now on the screen. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below, and then whether or not you agree with me. And if you do agree and you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out.
Joining me now is aviation management expert John Gradick with more. John, good morning. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Marcia.
What does this latest decision from Air Canada tell you about cross-border demand right now?
It's not coming back as much as they would like it to. They had a plan for an operating capacity that had some return of traffic and not as much of a drop, but that transborder traffic, it's not nowhere near what Air Canada would expect it to be. So that's why they're trimming the schedule. The flights that they're canceling to the Midwest are the same ones they canceled last year. So this is not a fuel problem. It's basically a demand problem.
Now, I agree with John when he says that this is a demand problem, and we all know why. But fuel, it might factor in for some people because the ticket prices have gone up a bit. But it doesn't mean that Canadians have stopped traveling. We're just going elsewhere, like Asia or Europe, or flying over the United States and going farther south. But John is absolutely correct when he said the airlines, they have to adjust to supply and demand, and the demand is just not there. Air Canada spent some time to try to see if things would like pick up again, and they didn't. Obviously, Air Canada is not going to stay unprofitable. These planes need to continue moving, and they are. They're just not going to the United States.
What's the knock-on effect of canceling these routes?
Well, there's going to be passengers who are going to be disrupted. They're going to have some, knowledge of what their rights are on the APPRs, the passenger protection rights situation. But more importantly, I think that Air Canada's really got to come to the front of the crowd here and basically look at the whole of their U.S. operations, not these, fairly performing routes, and get information to the passengers as quickly as they possibly can so that passengers can reschedule their flights. Right now, hopefully Air Canada's not doing this piecemeal. Hopefully this is it. I don't know.
Now, I know what some people are going to be saying, and I'm going to say it out loud. For the Canadians that are still planning to go to the US, it's too bad if you have to make alternative arrangements for your flights because they got canceled. Now, I totally get that sentiment, but I have to also realize too that there are people going for work and for family reasons. But the ones that are going for leisure, yeah, for those ones, too bad. I have no sympathy if your flight gets canceled and you have to make other arrangements.
We're going to wait and see another couple of weeks for that.
Yes, specifically, what does this mean for snowbirds heading south this winter, John?
Well, I think Air Canada's tried to put the flights into the sun markets in the U.S. Into a longer period, what we call the shoulder period, which is like from October through mid-December. I think mid-December, they're doing well. There are people booking, traditional sun markets in mid-December. Air Canada was trying to push some of that traffic into October and November. That's not working. So people are basically just going to the U.S. when their economics and when they're disposable as they can go, which is basically right at the start of Christmas vacation. So that's what they've done. They've shouldered the schedule.
Yeah.
Now, there are going to be Canadians going to Florida in December. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I don't like it, but as Todd Bertuzzi said, it is what it is. But I'm not going to focus on the people that are actually going to go in December. What I'm focusing on is the missed revenue and the amount of flights that are going to be missing from October and November. And let's go back to this part right here. Ottawa, Montreal, and Quebec City, they're delaying their flights to Florida to December. And let's just use Ottawa as an example. And let's say Air Canada uses an Airbus A320, or let's say an A321, which I believe has a seating capacity of around, 200 people? So if you times that for the month, that's about 6,200 seats. That would be flying to Florida on a daily basis. And that would be considering it's only one flight per day. I'm sure Air Canada would have loved to have maybe 2 or 3 flights per day to say Miami or Orlando, but that's not going to happen. Now multiply that by 2 for Montreal and Quebec City as well. And that's 18,000 seats for a month? Going one step further, the next thing I think about is how much these people would have been spending in Florida. And the Canadians flying to Florida, they're not just going there for a weekend trip. They're going there for months. So a pushback from October to December might not sound like a lot, but it's a lot of revenue for Air Canada that they're missing. And also same for the businesses in Florida.
Will fewer flights and reduced competition push ticket prices higher?
Oh, of course. That's the name of the game. If Air Canada had stayed in those markets, they would not be looking to fly necessarily empty flights. Nobody likes to fly empty flights. So there would have been a need in the market to kind of reduce the price to stimulate the market. Now with this reduction in capacity, they don't have to do that. But like I said, it's not over yet. They've got a lot of demand that they satisfy this summer. Flights are full. If you're flown to the Atlantic, you're flown across Canada, international, flights are gangbusters, but, the U.S. is still lagging quite a bit behind. So we'll see. I don't know that, we'll see. Not predicting a seat sale for the U.S. for the fall, but it's within the realm of possibility.
We'll be watching.
Well, I'll definitely be watching. To be honest, I prefer to do these kind of reports versus what the United States has done on their last meth binge. And to be honest, I think all Canadians should be encouraged by this. Because even WestJet, they announced in late June 24th, that they're ending 20 US routes as well. And you can see from the map here, some of these routes, they're actually pretty popular, or they were popular. But WestJet's planes aren't just sitting on the tarmac. They're going elsewhere. I mean, the airlines are not stupid. They can't keep the planes on the ground for too long. They're just redirecting flights to places that we want to go to. So I think with all the noise going on, saying that the border's turning around and, the boycott's over and Canadians are having a change of heart, I'm going to ignore that noise and just focus on things like airline stats and hotel stats. The World Cup is really skewing things up right now because the United States and their media, is piggybacking off the momentum of the World Cup. Although there are signs of cracks, because we're starting to see reports out of the United States where businesses were promised a big World Cup boom, and it never happened. And in fact, some businesses, they're actually reporting that the sales are worse than last year. I mean, that's pretty bad if it's worse than last year. I actually can't wait for the World Cup to be over, because I'm tired of these skewed numbers. Because everything in the news out of the United States has just been about World Cup, painting a picture that everything is fine. Well, I just showed you some flight stats, but another area that I look to for, gauging the current situation is the GTL community. And I have a few comments here I want to read out to everybody. The first one is from Daguski. I don't care if the US elects a freaking pope. I'm never buying USA again, and I'm never setting foot in the USA. Ever. This next one is from Charlene Biggs, 1620. I have to be honest, admit to never having trusted the USA. They have sunk to a new low. As I have anticipated, there's really nothing to forgive. I lived in the USA for 4 years and was ecstatic when I was able to return home. I will never set foot in that country again, and will continue to boycott for the rest of my life. And thank you, Charlene, for being a member of the channel. This next one is from Graphic Jack. Yup, never again. I have zero interest in never returning to the US. I don't care if it's Bernie or whoever the next president or anyone else. I will never go back. I'm really glad to see comments like this because it shows that people are seeing beyond Taco Tuesday. Because whenever I see someone say that they're not going to the United States until Taco Tuesday is gone, it tells me that they're not really seeing the full picture. They're not seeing the 77 million that voted for him. And it's a very surface level answer if you ask me. I said it before and I will repeat it ad nauseum. I think he meant as nauseum. I will never go back to the USA. I will not buy a USA product for the rest of my life. Period. Yeah, we haven't even talked about products yet. This next one is from Craig SDD3K. I will never be ready, ever again. The US showed us who they are. My boycott is forever now. Heading to Italy this summer. I really like seeing that people are not just stopping their traveling, they're going elsewhere, whether it's in Canada or it's going to another country. So let me know in the comments below, where are you going this year instead of the United States? This next one is from SimPip374. We will never travel again to the US. And I live very near the border. We are still traveling, however, just choosing to spend our money elsewhere, or anywhere but the US. The unnecessary stress, pain, and death, and the USA has caused the entire world is unforgivable. Forgivable. We won't even book a destination that uses the USA as a connection. We don't want to set down in the USA even for a few hours. Nope. We will be heading to UK and Europe in the next few weeks for vacation. Australia is also on my bucket list. I'll be heading to Australia in Q4. I can't wait for that. Okay, I got a few more and I'm going to wrap this one up. This next one is from Matho1961. I visited more than 20 countries, but there's one country I have no interest in ever visiting, and that's America. It's now at the point where I won't even visit another country or go on a cruise if it's got an American airport or port on the itinerary. Now that is a very good move because in the past, I did an interview with a Canadian who did a trip to the Caribbean, and one of the ports of entry was actually Florida. And unfortunately, he was detained for about 3 hours. His phone and laptop taken, most likely the data copied. And he's now vowed never to step foot in the United States again, even if it's for a cruise. So if you want to check out that video, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Alright, last one for today, because you can tell the co-host is getting a little antsy. This one's from Brenda Baker 9064. I used to go to the US all the time. I went to Oregon Coast over 20 times, Seattle, San Diego, Alaska, San Francisco, LA. They were all favorite holiday spots. All of that came to a screeching halt, with the threat started last year. Stop licking my foot. Hey. Last year, I lost my spot. All that came to a screeching halt with threats started. Last year, I went to Vancouver Island and visited a few small towns I've never visited. Despite having been to the islands hundreds of times before, I plan to do this again later this year and pick a few different towns. I just got back from a trip from Portugal. I have zero plans to ever visit the US again. Everyone in my family is doing the same. I don't need to give any of my hard-earned money to a country that insults, belittles, and threatens my country, and is full of people that don't have the sense not to elect an insane, corrupt, malignant, narcissistic criminal as a president, twice. A country whose justice system allowed him and his cronies to totally get away scot-free while imprisoning thousands of innocent people without trial and inhumane conditions. Not even mention the power-tripping ICE and CBP harassing travelers at the border. This kind of country is not a place to spend a vacation. For some reasons, Americans cannot understand this. Really. Well, I think any US citizen that follows my channel, they understand. It's just a big portion of the other population that doesn't. But one thing I do need to add to your message, I also don't understand why some US citizens feel like there's nowhere else for us to go. Like you get the comments from DeSantis saying that they got the beaches. Where else are Canadians going to go? It's like he doesn't realize the rest of the world does have beaches as well. And some beaches don't have like gunshots. So I hope me reading out these comments does give people reassurance that we're still pissed. And despite what the US media says about the boycott lifting or like weakening or Canadians having a change of heart, well, I can reassure you that a lot of us Canadians are never going to change our heart when it comes to the United States. So let me know in the comments below. Will you ever change your mind when it comes to the United States? Let everybody know, and if I get enough comments, I might actually do a full video on this. To close out this video, I would like to thank Mr. Mystics from our Discord server for posting this photo of the three sisters just outside Canmore, Alberta. It was a tough decision because you posted quite a few, and I couldn't really decide which one to use. But I want to thank you again, Mr. Mystics, for sharing this with the community. Alright, I really need to get going. She's getting a little antsy. That might be a bit of an understatement. But for those that are still watching to the very end, I really appreciate your support. And it really does help the algorithm. And backed by popular demand, I'm gonna play again another Canadian theme song that everybody will recognize. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international point of view, without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you'll be notified of my future videos. And don't forget to hit the bell icon and select all as well. Now, if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone, I'll catch you in the next one.